In the small town of Ravens Hollow, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, there stood an ancient gas station. The neon sign flickered intermittently, casting an eerie glow on the cracked pavement below. Few dared to venture near it after dark, for the locals spoke of strange occurrences and a chilling presence that seemed to permeate the air. Emily, a young woman with a penchant for late-night shifts, found herself working the graveyard hours at the Ravens Hollow Gas and Go. It was a decision driven by necessity rather than choice, but she dismissed the town's ominous whispers, attributing them to the overactive imagination of a close-knit community. One frigid midnight, with the moon hanging low in the ink-black sky, Emily prepared for another solitary shift. The gas station seemed to creak and groan in protest against the biting wind as she stepped inside. The pale glow of fluorescent lights revealed shelves stocked with snacks and flickering rows of gas pumps. As the night unfolded, the gas station took on a different character. The humming of the refrigerators echoed through the empty aisles, creating an unsettling symphony in the silence. Emily's eyes darted nervously from one shadowy corner to another as she checked inventory and counted the hours until dawn. Around 2 a.m., a hesitant tap echoed through the station. Emily glanced toward the door, half expecting a lost traveler seeking directions or a weary soul in need of fuel. To her surprise, the tapping persisted, rhythmic and deliberate. With cautious steps, she approached the source of the sound. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows on the linoleum floor as Emily reached the entrance. A gust of wind rattled the windows, and she saw a figure standing just outside, obscured by the darkness. The door creaked open, revealing a man with a weathered face and a tattered coat. His eyes, deep pools of shadow, seemed to hold secrets untold. He spoke in hushed tones, warning Emily of an ancient curse that lingered in Ravens Hollow. As the man spoke, the air inside the gas station thickened with an invisible tension. Emily felt an inexplicable connection to the stranger's words, a primal fear that burrowed into her very core. He explained how the gas station stood atop a forgotten burial ground, and the spirits of the departed sought revenge for the disturbance. Initially skeptical, Emily listened intently as the man recounted tales of flickering lights, phantom footsteps, and chilling whispers. He spoke of a ghostly figure that roamed the aisles at night, seeking solace for a long-forgotten tragedy. Dismissive laughter escaped Emily's lips, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of uncertainty. The man, sensing her skepticism, implored her to heed the warnings and appease the vengeful spirits. He handed her a small, ancient-looking talisman, claiming it held the power to ward off the malevolent forces that prowled the gas station. As the man departed into the night, the gas station seemed to exhale a collective breath, and the tension eased. Emily clutched the talisman in her hands, torn between rationality and an unshakable unease. As the witching hour approached, the gas station transformed into a realm of shifting shadows and spectral whispers. Emily, now on edge, moved through the aisles, her eyes darting nervously from one corner to the next. The refrigerators hummed with an ominous resonance, and the flickering lights cast disorienting patterns on the floor. As the clock struck 3 a.m., Emily heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps behind her. She turned abruptly, but the aisles stood empty. The chill in the air intensified, and the talisman in her hands seemed to grow warm, as if reacting to an unseen presence. Doubt and fear wrestled within her as the ghostly apparition materialized before her eyes. A translucent figure, draped in ethereal mist, glided through the aisles. Its eyes, pools of sorrow, met Emily's gaze, conveying a tale of tragedy etched in the annals of time. The ghostly figure spoke, its voice a gentle murmur that echoed through the gas station. It sought release, a way to transcend the shackles of its tortured existence. Emily, overcome with empathy, found herself drawn into the spirit's plea. Guided by an unseen force, Emily embarked on a quest to uncover the forgotten history of Ravens Hollow. Through dusty archives and aging townsfolk, she unraveled a tale of love and betrayal, a narrative buried beneath layers of time. With newfound purpose, Emily returned to the gas station, determined to appease the vengeful spirits that lingered. Armed with the talisman and the knowledge of the past, she performed a ritual to bring peace to the tortured souls. As the first light of dawn painted the horizon, the gas station stood silent, its flickering lights now steady, and the air no longer thick with tension. Emily, exhausted yet victorious, emerged from the ordeal with a newfound respect for the thin veil that separated the living from the dead. The gas station, once a haven for restless spirits, now stood as a monument to the power of understanding and empathy, and as Emily locked the door behind her, the neon sign flickered one last time before casting a steady glow over Raven's Hollow. In the heart of the desert, where the sky stretches endlessly and the stars gleam like distant beacons, lies a solitary gas station known as Midnight Fuel. Surrounded by nothing but sand dunes and cacti, it stands as a beacon of hope for weary travelers braving the desolate roads. The station's exterior is weathered, its paint peeling and its neon sign flickering erratically. But despite its appearance, it beckons to those in need, promising respite from the relentless desert heat. One fateful night, as the moon hung low in the sky and the desert winds whispered secrets to the sand, Sarah found herself driving along the lonely highway. Her tank was nearing empty, and the gas gauge blinked ominously in the darkness. With no other options in sight, Sarah pulled into the dimly lit forecourt of Midnight Fuel. The air was thick with anticipation as she stepped out of her car, the sound of her footsteps echoing against the stillness of the desert night. Inside the station, the atmosphere was stifling, the air heavy with the scent of motor oil and stale coffee. Sarah glanced around, her eyes scanning the aisles for signs of life. But aside from the low hum of the refrigerators, the station seemed deserted. As she made her way to the counter, a sense of unease settled over her like a suffocating blanket. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the linoleum floor. Sarah shivered, suddenly aware of the isolation that surrounded her. Behind the counter stood the gas station attendant, a figure cloaked in shadow with eyes that gleamed like embers in the darkness. His features were obscured by the brim of a faded cap, and his voice was a low, gravelly rasp as he greeted her. Sarah hesitated, her instinct screaming at her to leave, to flee into the safety of the night. But the attendant's gaze held her captive, drawing her in like a moth to a flame. With trembling hands, she handed him her credit card, the transaction unfolding in silence. But as the attendant returned her card, his fingers brushed against hers, sending a chill down her spine. As she turned to leave, a voice called out from the shadows, its words a whisper on the wind. Sarah froze, her heart pounding in her chest as she searched for the source of the sound. It was then that she saw her, a figure shrouded in darkness standing at the far end of the aisle. Her eyes were hollow and empty, her face obscured by a veil of shadows. With a sense of dread pooling in her stomach, Sarah approached the figure, her footsteps echoing in the silence. As she drew closer, she realized with a sinking feeling that the figure was not human at all, but something far more sinister. It was the ghost of a woman, her form ethereal and translucent against the harsh fluorescent light. Her eyes bore into Sarah's soul, a silent plea for redemption that sent shivers down her spine. With trembling hands, Sarah reached out to touch the ghostly figure, her fingers passing through the icy chill of the void. The air crackled with energy, the station's walls pulsing with a malevolent force that threatened to consume them both. In that moment, Sarah understood the truth. Midnight Fuel was no ordinary gas station. It was a gateway to the other side, a realm where the living and the dead converged in a dance of eternal torment. With a strength born of desperation, Sarah vowed to free the ghost from her earthly prison, to break the chains that bound her to Midnight Fuel's haunted halls. She delved into the station's dark history, uncovering a tale of betrayal and tragedy that spanned generations. Armed with the knowledge of the past, Sarah confronted the ghost once more, her heart heavy with sorrow and regret. She spoke words of solace and redemption, offering the ghost a chance to find peace in the afterlife. As the clock struck midnight, the station's walls began to tremble, the air crackling with the energy of 1,000 souls. And in a blinding flash of light, the ghost vanished into the ether, her spirit finally free from the shackles of Midnight Fuel's curse. Sarah emerged from the station a changed woman, her soul forever scarred by the horrors she had witnessed. But in the darkness, she found a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in the most desolate of places, the light of redemption still shines bright. And as she drove off into the night, the neon sign of Midnight Fuel flickered one last time before fading into the darkness, a testament to the fleeting nature of life and the eternal power of the human spirit. In the heart of a remote forest, where the trees towered like silent sentinels and the night air hummed with a haunting melody, there stood an old gas station. Nestled amidst the dense foliage, its rusted pumps and cracked concrete forecourt bore witness to years of neglect and abandonment. Few travelers dared to venture into the depths of the forest, but for those who did, the gas station beckoned like a beacon of refuge amidst the darkness. Its neon sign, now faded and flickering, cast an eerie glow that pierced the night sky, promising shelter from the encroaching shadows. On a moonless night, as the wind whispered secrets through the treetops and the stars hid behind a veil of clouds, a weary traveler named Mark found himself driving along the winding forest road. His headlights cut through the darkness like twin beacons, illuminating the gnarled branches that reached out like skeletal fingers. As the fuel gauge in his car dipped perilously low, Mark's heart quickened with a mixture of anticipation and dread. He had heard tales of the gas station that lay hidden within the depths of the forest, stories of strange happenings and inexplicable phenomena that chilled the blood and set the mind ablaze with fear. With no other choice but to press on, Mark followed the winding road until he reached the clearing where the gas station stood, its silhouette looming like a specter against the night sky. The air was thick with an oppressive silence, broken only by the low hum of the forest and the distant howl of a lone wolf. As Mark stepped out of his car and approached the forecourt, a sense of unease settled over him like a suffocating shroud. The air was heavy with the scent of gasoline and decay, and the wind whispered secrets that sent shivers down his spine. The gas station itself appeared deserted, its windows dark and its doors hanging loosely on their hinges. The neon sign flickered ominously, casting shifting shadows that danced like specters in the night. With trepidation gnawing at his heart, Mark stepped inside the gas station, the creaking door echoing through the empty interior. The air was thick with the scent of dust and decay, and the dim fluorescent lights cast long, twisting shadows that seemed to writhe and twist in the darkness. As he made his way to the counter, Mark's footsteps echoed against the linoleum floor, each sound reverberating through the silent expanse of the gas station like a tolling bell. He called out, his voice echoing off the walls in a hollow whisper, but there was no response. The silence that greeted him was deafening, broken only by the low hum of the refrigerators and the distant whisper of the wind. Mark's heart quickened with a sense of impending doom, his mind racing with thoughts of the horrors that lay hidden within the shadows. It was then that he heard it, a soft, insistent whisper that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. At first, it was nothing more than a faint murmur, a fleeting echo that danced on the edge of his consciousness. But as Mark listened, the whispers grew louder, their words twisting and distorting into a cacophony of madness and despair. He tried to block them out, to cling to the last shreds of his sanity, but they clawed at his mind like ravenous beasts, tearing at the fabric of his reality. Desperate for escape, Mark turned to flee, but the gas station had become a labyrinth of shadows and despair, its corridors twisting and turning like the labyrinth of his own mind. He stumbled and fell, his heart pounding in his chest as the whispers closed in around him. With each passing moment, the gas station seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy, its walls pulsing with a darkness that threatened to consume him whole. Mark's breath came in ragged gasps as he struggled to break free from the suffocating grip of the whispers. But just as he felt himself slipping into the abyss, a light appeared in the darkness, a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching shadows. It was the neon sign, flickering and fading, but still burning bright with a defiance that seemed to defy logic and reason. With renewed determination, Mark forced himself to his feet and stumbled toward the light, his heart pounding in his chest as he fought against the relentless pull of the darkness. And as he reached the safety of the forecourt, the whispers faded into nothingness, their voices swallowed by the silence of the night. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Mark emerged from the gas station a changed man, his soul forever scarred by the horrors he had witnessed. And though he would never forget the whispers that haunted the depths of the forest, he knew that he had faced his greatest fear and emerged victorious.